The battlefield of Virion burned under two suns. The sky was filled with smoke and red fire trails from the ships that had fallen. Across the desert plain stood the alien horde, their armor shining like gold under the dying light. In front of them, surrounded and alone, stood one human, Captain Ryan Cole. Dust moved around his boots as he breathed slowly. His armor was broken, one shoulder plate missing, his helmet cracked. Yet, his eyes were calm. He looked at the sea of alien soldiers without fear. From the high platform, the alien queen watched him. Her soldiers knelt before her, rows after rows stretching beyond the horizon. She sat tall and proud, wearing a crown of glowing blue crystals. Her eyes, bright like twin stars, focused on the lone human below. "This is the one who destroyed our outpost?" she asked. "Yes, my queen," her commander said. "He fought alone, no backup, no escape ship. It was impossible." The queen's lips curved into a cold smile. "Humans are strange creatures. Weak, but stubborn." Her voice echoed through the communication field so every soldier could hear. "Let this be a lesson. Watch how easily one human falls." Thousands of alien soldiers raised their weapons. The air vibrated with energy. Ryan didn't move. He simply adjusted his broken glove, took a deep breath, and whispered to himself, "Not today." A strange blue light flickered around his armor for a moment. Then silence. Even the wind stopped. The queen leaned forward. "What is that?" Before anyone could answer, Ryan moved. He dashed forward with impossible speed. His plasma blade cut through the first wave of alien soldiers like lightning. The front line fell before they even fired. Sparks and energy bursts filled the air. The queen's smile vanished. "Fire!" she commanded. Hundreds of blasters opened fire. The sky turned into a storm of red bolts, but Ryan was already among them, twisting, sliding, striking with precise movements. His armor seemed to absorb part of the energy, glowing brighter with each hit. "He's deflecting our shots," shouted one soldier in panic. Ryan struck down the last soldier of the first squad and looked up toward the queen's platform. His breathing was heavy, but his eyes glowed faintly blue. "You shouldn't have come here," he said under his breath. The queen rose from her seat, her calm beauty shifting into anger. "This human is not ordinary," she muttered. "He carries something ancient." Her commander turned to her. "Should we use the elites, my queen?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes. Bring them." From behind her, a new group of armored figures stepped forward, the Royal Guard. They were stronger, faster, trained for centuries. Their armor pulsed with energy as they jumped down to the battlefield. Ryan wiped dust from his face, watching them approach. "Finally," he whispered, gripping his blade tighter. The guards surrounded him in a circle. One of them said, "Human, surrender. The Queen offers mercy for knowledge." Ryan looked around slowly. "Mercy? You invaded our colonies. You burned our people alive. You think we will kneel?" Then, before the guard could answer, Ryan moved again. The next few seconds were chaos. His blade moved in flashes. Every strike was silent but deadly. The air cracked with energy. The guards tried to keep up, but they couldn't. One by one, they fell. Above them, the Queen's expression changed from arrogance to confusion. She stood, gripping the rail tightly. "How can one human move like that?" she whispered. The last guard fell to the ground. The battlefield went quiet. Only the wind moved again, carrying the dust and smoke through the air. Ryan stood in the center of fallen enemies, his armor now glowing with light from within. He looked tired but unbroken. From her platform, the Queen's eyes narrowed. She turned to her commander. "This is no normal human soldier. Something has changed in them." The commander hesitated. "Should we retreat?" She shook her head. "No. I want to see what he truly is." She raised her hand, and energy spread from her palm, a bright golden signal. All alien troops across the valley froze. The Queen herself stepped down from her throne, her steps echoing in the still air. Every soldier bowed their head as she walked past. Ryan watched her approach, the light of her armor reflecting in his eyes. She was taller than he expected, graceful but deadly. When she stopped a few meters away, Her soldiers stayed behind her like statues. For a moment, neither spoke. The sound of burning metal and distant thunder filled the silence. Finally, the Queen said, "You fought well, human. Tell me your name before you die." Rian smiled faintly. "Name's Captain Rian Cole. And I'm not dying today." Something in his tone made her hesitate. His voice carried no fear, only purpose. The Queen tilted her head slightly. "Then fight me," she said, her eyes glowing brighter. "Let me see the truth of this human courage your kind keeps speaking of." Rian looked at the endless alien army, then back at her. "You'll regret that." The Queen raised her weapon. The air cracked with energy again. The battle between a single human and the alien empire's queen was about to begin. And for the first time in centuries, the Queen felt uncertainty. The wind howled across the burning field. Ash drifted like snow. The alien queen stood face to face with the lone human, Captain Rian Cole. Behind her, thousands of alien soldiers formed a perfect circle, their golden armor reflecting the twin suns. The Queen's eyes glowed with sharp blue light. She looked calm, almost curious. "One man against 1,000, she said softly. "Do you understand what you've done, human? You have challenged an empire." Rian wiped the dust from his face, his armor cracked and bleeding faint energy. "I didn't come here to challenge," he said. "I came here to finish what you started." Her lips curved slightly. "Then show me, soldier of Earth. Show me what gives your kind such arrogance." She moved her hand. Instantly, 10 elite guards stepped forward, her royal shadows, trained for centuries, moving faster than human eyes could follow. Their blades hummed with blue fire. Rian lifted his plasma sword and took a deep breath. His voice was steady. "You'll regret sending them." The guards rushed him. Their movements were perfect, coordinated, beautiful, deadly. But Rian was faster. He didn't fight with form or tradition. He fought with instinct. His blade moved like a storm, wild, unpredictable, pure. Every strike from the aliens was answered with a counter. Every attack turned into their mistake. Sparks flew. Sand turned to glass under the heat of their weapons. The Queen watched carefully. Her expression never changed, but her mind raced. "He's not using human combat style," she thought. "His reactions are something else." In less than a minute, all 10 guards were down, their armor cracked, their energy fading into the dust. Rian stood in the center, his chest rising and falling. He was wounded, but his eyes were sharp. The soldiers around the ring stepped back, uneasy. No one had ever seen their queen's elite fall so easily. The Queen raised her hand to silence them. "Enough," she said. Her voice was calm again, but colder now. "You are skilled, human. I admit that. But your strength has limits. Mine does not." She stepped forward. Energy flowed from the jewels in her armor. The ground cracked under her feet as power gathered around her form. Her eyes blazed like suns. Rian steadied himself. "So this is the real power of your kind," he said quietly. The Queen smiled. "Yes. You should feel honored. Few live long enough to see it." She raised her spear, and a flash of golden light shot toward Rian. He barely rolled aside before the blast tore through the ground, leaving a crater of molten glass. The next blast hit him directly in the chest. His armor sparked, the blue energy inside flickering violently. He fell to one knee, coughing. The Queen lowered her spear. "That is the difference between your kind and mine," she said. "You fight bravely, but bravery cannot stop destiny." Rian looked up, blood on his lip. "You're right," he said softly. "But humans don't fight for destiny. We fight because we have to." Then the blue light in his armor flared again, brighter, stronger than before. The Queen's eyes widened. "Impossible." The human stood up again. His armor's cracks glowed like molten metal. He raised his blade once more, the light dancing across its edge. "I told you," Rian said, his voice low but powerful. "You'll regret this." He charged forward. The ground shook. The Queen swung her spear, but he blocked it with one hand, sparks exploding in all directions. Their weapons locked, energy screaming between them. For a moment, their eyes met, human and alien, soldier and ruler. The Queen saw something she couldn't understand. Not rage. Not hate. Something deeper. Will. She pushed him back with a burst of energy. Rian slid across the sand but kept his balance. He smiled faintly. "You're strong," he said. "But strength isn't everything." The Queen frowned. "Then what is?" He lifted his blade, pointing it toward her. "Purpose." Before she could answer, he vanished, moving faster than before. He reappeared behind her, his blade inches from her armor. The energy crackled, ready to strike. For the first time, the Queen didn't move. She turned her head slightly, her expression calm but her voice quieter now. "You could kill me," she said. "But you won't." Rian hesitated. The soldiers gasped. No one had ever spoken to their queen like that, or stood behind her with a weapon drawn. Rian lowered the blade slightly. "You're right," he said. "Killing you won't stop what's coming. But it will start something worse." The Queen turned to face him, her eyes narrowing. "You think mercy will save your world?" Rian shook his head. "No. But it might save yours." For a moment, silence filled the battlefield. Even the alien troops held their breath. The Queen looked at him long and hard, studying his face as if searching for weakness. Then she stepped back, her voice turning cold again. "Enough talk. You think your kind is special. You think your courage makes you different." She lifted her spear once more. "Let me show you what happens when hope meets reality." She raised her hand high, and suddenly the sky above them darkened. Massive alien ships moved into formation. From their undersides, red lights began to glow. Rian looked up. His expression didn't change. "You're bringing in your fleet." The Queen's voice echoed across the desert. "I'm bringing your end." The alien ships began charging their cannons. The hum of power filled the air. Rian closed his eyes for a moment, then whispered, "Then I'll have to end this faster." The light around him grew brighter, turning blue-white. The ground shook. Even the Queen took a step back, her soldiers unsure whether to advance or retreat. Then the Queen said softly, almost to herself, "What are you, human?" Rian opened his eyes, glowing with the same blue energy as his armor. "Something you shouldn't have awakened," he said. The energy exploded outward, lighting up the field like a second sun. And for the first time in her reign, the alien Queen felt fear. The explosion from Rian's armor shook the battlefield. Dust rolled like thunderclouds, and light cut across the alien sky. When it faded, the ground was covered in glass and smoke. The alien soldiers lowered their weapons, blinking through the haze. In the center of the crater, Rian still stood, burned, bleeding, but alive. Blue energy flickered around him like living fire. The alien Queen stared at him in disbelief. "No creature survives that," she whispered. "No human could." Rian looked up at her through the smoke. His voice was rough but steady. "You keep saying that, but you don't really know what humans are." The Queen narrowed her eyes. "Then enlighten me." Before Rian could answer, a sharp pain cut through his head. His vision blurred, the battlefield melted away. In an instant, he was somewhere else. Flashback. A cold white laboratory deep beneath Earth's surface. Rows of machines hummed. Scientists moved like ghosts behind glass walls. And in the center of the room, Rian Cole, connected to wires and glowing tubes. A voice echoed through the speakers. Subject 07, beginning neural synchronization. Pain shot through him. He clenched his fists, fighting the wave of energy tearing through his veins. He remembered screaming once, not from fear, but from the sheer power entering his body. The project was called Phoenix. Earth had been losing the war. Millions dead, cities gone. The alien horde was unstoppable. So Earth's leaders had made a desperate choice, to merge human strength with captured alien energy cores. To create a soldier who could adapt, evolve, and survive anything. Most test subjects died within minutes. Rian didn't. Days turned into weeks of agony. The alien energy tried to burn him from the inside, but something inside him, pure will, refused to break. One scientist whispered in awe, "He's not resisting it anymore. He's mastering it." Then came the first awakening, blue fire running through his bloodstream. The machines exploded, alarms blared, but Rian just stood there, glowing. The project director looked at him and said, "Welcome, Captain Cole. You are now Earth's final hope." The flashback faded. Rian opened his eyes again on the battlefield. His breathing was heavy. The Queen's voice broke through the ringing in his ears. "What did you just remember?" Rian straightened slowly. "The truth," he said. "What your kind forced us to become." The Queen tilted her head. "You mean that power, it came from us?" He nodded. "From the cause you left on the battlefields. We learned. We adapted. You tried to destroy us, but you only made us stronger." The Queen's face changed, not anger now, but curiosity. "Fascinating. You took our technology and made it your own. Dangerous, and impressive." She stepped closer, lowering her weapon slightly. "Tell me, human, how many like you exist?" Rian's lips curved faintly. "Just one." Her eyes widened a little. "Only you." "Yes," he said. "Because no one else survived the process." The Queen stared at him in silence. The sound of the distant wind filled the space between them. Finally, she said, "Then you are a miracle, or a monster." Rian met her gaze. "Maybe both." She studied him carefully. There was no fear in his stance, no hate, just something deeper, purpose. It unsettled her. No warrior she'd met had ever looked at her like that. She turned slightly toward her commander. "Prepare the second wave," she ordered. Rian sighed. "You still don't get it, do you?" The Queen raised an eyebrow. "Get what?" He looked up at the sky, where her ships hovered like dark clouds. "You can send every army you have. But I'm not your enemy. You just don't see the real war yet." Her tone hardened. "Then enlighten me, human." Rian pointed to the horizon, where faint streaks of red light moved, not alien ships, not human either. "Something else. You're not the only empire out here," he said quietly. "Something older is coming. The reason Earth started the Phoenix Project wasn't just you." The Queen frowned. "What are you saying?" Rian took a deep breath. "Your war woke something ancient, something buried beyond the galactic rim. We tried to warn you." Her soldiers exchanged uncertain glances. The Queen's voice softened slightly. "You expect me to believe a dying man's warning?" Rian shook his head. "You don't have to believe me. You'll see it soon." He turned his gaze toward the sky again, where the faint lights were growing brighter. "But first," he added, "we finish our battle." The Queen raised her spear once more, energy humming around her. "So be it." She moved faster this time, her power fully unleashed. The ground shattered under her feet as she closed the distance between them. Rian met her head-on. Their weapons clashed, and the shockwave sent soldiers flying backward. The Queen struck again and again, her movements fluid, deadly. But Rian matched her, his blade leaving trails of blue fire. Each hit echoed like thunder. Around them, the alien army watched in silence. The two figures moved too fast for most to follow, flashes of gold and blue, strength against strength. Finally, the Queen forced him back with a massive burst of energy. Rian slid across the cracked ground, leaving a trail of smoke. He stood, panting, his armor glowing faintly again. The Queen's voice carried across the field. "Tell me, human, if you are the last of your kind, why fight? Why die here?" Rian wiped blood from his mouth and smiled. "Because someone has to stand before the storm." The Queen hesitated. "The storm?" He pointed upward again. The red lights in the sky were now brighter, closer. "They are coming," he said. "And if we don't stop fighting each other, neither of our kinds will survive." For the first time, the Queen turned to look. Her eyes narrowed as she saw the strange lights flickering in the clouds, cold, unfamiliar, and growing fast. Rian's voice was quiet but firm. "This war ends now. Or none of us will live to fight again." And for a brief moment, the battlefield fell silent. Even the Queen, proud ruler of the alien empire, felt something she hadn't felt in centuries. Doubt. The silence between the Queen and the lone human stretched like a drawn blade. Around them, The golden soldiers stood still, their armor glowing under the twin suns. Every alien eye watched the man who had fought through their ranks, who now stood before their ruler without fear. The human's chest rose and fell slowly. His armor was cracked, one shoulder burned from plasma fire, but his eyes stayed cold and steady. The queen tilted her head slightly. "You are strong," she said at last, her voice smooth and powerful. "Stronger than I expected from a species so young." He did not answer. His silence made the soldiers shift uneasily. To them, silence meant defiance. To her, it meant control. The queen took one step closer. "Tell me, human, what drives you to fight when defeat is certain?" He met her gaze and said quietly, "Because giving up isn't in our nature." Something flickered across her face, something like surprise. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one dared. For a moment, she studied him like a puzzle. "You've killed my soldiers," she said. "You've broken through defenses that even my generals fear to challenge. Why keep fighting alone? Do you not have an army?" He smiled faintly. "Who says I'm alone?" The queen's expression hardened. She turned to her guards. "Scan the skies. Now." The soldiers obeyed instantly, their visors flashing data. But the sky was clear. No ships. No signals. Nothing. "He lies," one of the soldiers said. But then, the ground trembled. A low, distant sound filled the air, a rhythm that did not belong to nature. The queen turned her head sharply. Across the horizon, small dark shapes began to appear, rising like a storm. Human dropships. Hundreds of them. The alien soldiers raised their weapons. The queen lifted a hand, stopping them. Her sharp eyes stayed on the human. "You brought war to my world," she said softly. He answered, "You brought it to ours first." A pulse of energy rippled through the air as human ships broke the atmosphere. The queen's soldiers tightened formation, ready for battle. Yet she did not give the order to attack. Not yet. She was studying him again, his stance, his calmness, the way he seemed almost sorry. "You could have stayed silent," she said. "You could have escaped instead of facing me. Why risk your life?" He looked at her, his voice steady. "Because someone has to stand in front of the storm." That line made something stir deep within her. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was something she hadn't felt in centuries, respect. Her soldiers were ready, weapons humming. But she lowered her own spear. "Enough," she said. "You've proven your strength. But strength alone doesn't win wars. Let's see if you can win respect." She motioned to her warriors to step back. "I challenge you," she declared, "to a single combat. Me against you. If you win, I let your people go. If I win, Earth belongs to me." A murmur spread through the alien ranks. No one had challenged their queen in 1,000 years. The human paused. Then, he nodded once. "Agreed." The soldiers formed a wide circle around them, their armor gleaming like a living wall. Dust rose in the warm wind. The queen's golden armor shimmered, pieces shifting and locking into combat mode. Her spear ignited with a pulse of blue energy. The human pulled his plasma blade free, it crackled faintly, damaged from the last battle. They faced each other in silence. The queen struck first, fast as lightning. Her spear cut through the air, but the human dodged, sliding low and countering with a swift strike. Sparks exploded as metal met energy. The soldiers gasped. Few could match the queen's speed. Yet this human did. The battle raged like a storm. She struck again and again, her moves elegant but deadly. He blocked, dodged, rolled, his instincts pure survival. When her spear missed, he countered with quick, brutal precision. Every impact shook the ground. Minutes passed. Both were breathing hard now. Finally, she swung her spear in a wide arc. He caught the shaft, twisting it from her grasp. She responded with a kick that sent him crashing into the dust. The queen rushed forward to end it, but he was faster. He rolled aside, grabbed his blade, and with one clean motion, sliced through her shoulder armor. Sparks flew. She froze. He stopped, his blade at her throat. Silence fell again. The soldiers stared, stunned. Their queen, untouched for centuries, had been defeated by a lone human. But instead of striking, he lowered his weapon. "You said this was for respect," he said quietly. "You've earned mine." She looked up at him, breathing heavily. Slowly, she smiled. "And you've earned mine, human." The wind blew between them as they stood facing each other, two warriors from different worlds, yet bound by something older than war, honor. But as the dust settled, the Queen's eyes lifted to the sky. Her expression darkened. "You may have won this duel," she whispered, "but something greater is coming." The human frowned. "What do you mean?" She turned away. "A power older than both our worlds. You woke it when you came here." And above them, the sky began to darken. Dust still floated in the air from the battle. The alien queen stood motionless, her golden armor cracked and smoking from the fight. Across from her, the lone human lowered his plasma blade. Both warriors were breathing heavily, their eyes locked in silent respect. But something was wrong. The ground trembled again, not from ships, not from engines, but from beneath. The vibrations grew deeper, echoing like a heartbeat inside the planet itself. The Queen slowly turned her gaze upward. The twin suns that had once burned bright were dimming, swallowed by creeping shadows. The human frowned. "What's happening?" The Queen's voice was quiet, but full of dread. "You woke it." "Woke what?" he asked. Her golden eyes glowed faintly. "The first ones, the ones who built this world before even my empire was born." Around them, the alien soldiers shifted nervously. Some looked to the sky, others to the trembling ground. One of them whispered, "It can't be real, it's just a legend." But the Queen shook her head. "Legends are born from truth." A deep, rolling sound filled the air, like the voice of a mountain speaking. The sky cracked with lines of blue lightning. The human's visor flickered with radiation alerts. Something massive was forming high above the clouds. He looked up and froze. The clouds were spiraling into a shape, a circle, a glowing gate. From it, enormous dark figures began to emerge. Not ships. Not life as he knew it. They were machines, ancient constructs of stone and metal, taller than cities, moving with the slow grace of gods. Each step they took sent shockwaves across the land. The Queen's soldiers raised their weapons in panic, but she shouted, "Hold your fire. You'll only draw their attention." Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with respect, almost reverence. They were the guardians of this system. Long before my kind or yours ever existed. And they wake only for one reason. The human turned toward her. "And that is." She met his gaze. "To erase what they believe is a threat to balance." The human's heart pounded. "They think we're the threat." The Queen nodded slowly. "You fought well, human. You earned my respect. But now, both our species stand in danger. These beings do not see sides, only survival." The ground cracked open, spilling molten light. The Queen's palace trembled as ancient towers rose from beneath the surface, massive monoliths covered in glowing symbols. The soldiers backed away, terrified. One of the alien generals shouted, "My Queen! We must retreat to the inner domes." But she stayed still. "There's nowhere safe to run." The human looked around, scanning for options. His comms crackled. "This is Commander Hale," a voice said. "We've landed our fleet. What's your status?" He replied, "You need to see this yourself. Something's happening to the planet." The Queen turned toward him sharply. "If your ships attack them, it will doom us all. The first ones cannot be destroyed by weapons." Hale's voice came again, tense. "Then what can stop them?" The Queen's answer was grim. "Only one thing, understanding their code. Their purpose. But the language of the first ones is lost." The human looked at the glowing symbols rising on the ancient towers. His suit AI translated fragments, old words flashing across his visor: origin, balance, error, reset. His blood went cold. "They're rebooting the planet." The Queen turned toward him. "What does that mean?" He said quietly, "It means they're wiping everything. You, me, every living thing." The alien soldiers began to panic. The ground split wider, swallowing the battlefield. The Queen's eyes glowed fiercely as she pointed toward the ancient towers. Then we must reach the central spire before the process completes. The human nodded. Lead the way. She hesitated for a moment, then extended her hand. We fight together now. He took it. Their alliance, once impossible, was sealed by the fire of survival. They ran side by side through the collapsing city, debris falling around them. Lightning cracked the sky, illuminating the shapes of the colossal guardians descending from the gate above. The human ship descended to extract him, but he waved it off. No time. I have to stay. The Queen shouted over the chaos, if you die here, human, your people will have no leader. He turned, eyes cold and determined. Then tell them what you saw, a human who didn't run. They reached the base of the ancient spire. It pulsed with deep blue light, humming like a living heart. Strange alien script danced across its surface. The Queen placed her hand on the stone, whispering words in her old tongue. The tower responded, light flared, symbols shifting. The human watched, then touched his suit interface. AI, scan and translate pattern. The AI flickered. Partial match detected, merging linguistic data. Suddenly, the tower's glow intensified. The Queen gasped. What are you doing? He said, combining our knowledge. Your symbols, my tech. Maybe together we can talk to them. A blinding light shot from the spire into the sky. The descending giants paused, their massive heads turning toward the signal. For a moment, the trembling stopped. The Queen looked at him, eyes wide. You did it. They're listening. He smiled faintly. Let's hope they like what they hear. But the light began to twist, changing color, deepening from blue to red. The Ari's voice turned alarmed. Warning, unknown override detected. The Queen's face darkened. Something, or someone else, is controlling them. The human looked up. Above the clouds, a new shape emerged in the storm, a vast shadow with glowing eyes that made even the ancient guardians kneel. The Queen whispered in fear, that's not a machine. He tightened his grip on his blade. Then what is it? She turned to him slowly. The true ruler of the first ones, the one who destroyed worlds before time began. The ground trembled again, harder this time. The massive being opened its mouth, and a voice older than creation echoed across the planet. Balance must be restored. The Queen stepped back, her voice barely a whisper. It's awake, and it sees us as the infection. The planet shook under the weight of the voice. It was not a sound made for ears, it was something older, heavier, echoing inside every mind that heard it. The soldiers fell to their knees, clutching their heads. Even the Queen staggered, her golden armor humming with energy as if it were alive. The human stood still, his helmet flickering with static. The AI inside his suit screamed warnings, neural pressure detected. Shut down now. He ignored it. His eyes were fixed on the sky, where the great shadow loomed, huge enough to hide the twin suns. The Queen whispered, that is the true first one. The maker of this world. The giant figure looked down at the battlefield. Every guardian, the towering machines that had risen from the ground, had fallen silent, bowing before it like servants. Then the voice came again, deep and endless. You disturb the order. Balance must return. The human shouted back, his voice echoing across the broken plain. We didn't come to destroy. We were defending ourselves. The Queen glanced at him sharply. You can't reason with it. The first ones see time differently. To them, all conflict means decay. The great being moved its hand, a continent-sized shadow sweeping across the land. Where it passed, cities turned to dust. The alien soldiers screamed as entire fortresses crumbled in seconds. The Queen's eyes widened in horror. It's beginning the reset. The human turned to her. You said it responds to code, right? She nodded weakly. Yes, but only to the language of the first ones. No living being knows it fully. He tapped the side of his helmet. Maybe not fully, but I've got fragments. He ran toward the glowing spire, the same tower they had activated before. Energy crackled under his boots as he connected his wrist console to the ancient symbols. Lines of alien code flashed across his visor. The Queen followed him, shouting over the roaring wind. If you fail, it will erase everything. He didn't stop. Then I better not fail. The spire pulsed brighter as he typed, merging human tech with alien script. His AI spoke fast, its voice strained. Warning, connection unstable. Power surge, unknown data flooding system. The Queen pressed her hand to the stone beside him, her voice steady now. Let me help. My armor carries the old royal patterns. Maybe they can stabilize your signal. Together, they worked, their lights, codes, and voices mixing like two languages becoming one. The ground stopped shaking for a moment. The sky's color shifted from red to a pale silver. The great shadow paused. It noticed them. Two tiny figures, standing side by side, defying something older than creation. The voice came again, slower this time. You merge chaos with order. Why? The Queen looked up, her voice shaking. Because both are needed to survive. Without change, there is no growth. Without balance, there is no life. The being was silent for a moment, as if thinking. The human added, we're not your enemies. We're your descendants. The Queen turned toward him, confused. What are you saying? He stared at the glowing code. My AI translated one of the phrases. It said seed of origin. It wasn't describing this planet, it was describing Earth. Her eyes widened. You mean? Yes. The first ones didn't just build your world. They built ours. Humans are part of their design. The Queen looked at the towering figure above them, realization spreading across her face. That's why it hesitated. It recognizes you. The great being lowered its massive head. The air rippled with pressure as it spoke again. Seed of origin, corrupted by violence. Must be cleansed. The human clenched his fists. No. We learned to fight because of you. You built us to adapt. You made us strong. The Queen joined him, her voice rising. You created us to continue life, not destroy it. The spire blazed with light, reacting to their words. The Ari's voice grew excited. Pattern change detected. The entity is listening. The human took a step forward. If balance must return, let us rebuild it together. Don't erase what you created. For a long, breathless moment, the world stood still. Then the great being extended a hand. A beam of silver light shot from the clouds, touching the spire. The ground steadied. The red glow faded to gold. The Queen fell to her knees, exhausted. Did it work? The human looked around slowly. I think so. But then, the AI stuttered. Warning, residual signal detected. Something's wrong. The Queen's eyes narrowed. It's not leaving, it's transferring. The spire's light turned dark again, sinking into the ground. The massive figure above them began to dissolve into mist, its energy flowing toward the surface. The human backed away. It's coming here. The Queen's armor flared with light. It's merging with the planet. The voice echoed one last time, soft now, but chilling. Balance will live, inside you. Then everything went white. When the light faded, the battlefield was gone. The towers, the guardians, the armies, all vanished. Only the Queen and the human remained, standing in a vast field of glowing dust. She touched her chest, feeling a pulse, not her own, but something ancient and powerful moving inside her. She looked at him. It chose us. He nodded slowly. Or cursed us. They stared at the silent horizon where their world had once stood. The Queen whispered, "What happens now?" He looked up at the faint stars and said, "Now, we find out what it means to carry the power of the first ones." But deep beneath the surface, the planet's core began to glow again, faintly, rhythmically, like a sleeping heart that would soon awaken. The battlefield was gone, erased as if it had never existed. Only two figures stood in the silence, the Queen in her cracked golden armor, and the lone human, his suit scorched and smoking. The air shimmered with strange energy, like invisible waves pulsing through reality itself. The Queen looked around, her eyes wide. Everything, it's gone. The human nodded slowly. No. It's changed. The sky was different now. The twin suns glowed softer, and the once dead land was covered in faint golden dust that sparkled like living light. When the Queen stepped forward, the dust moved around her feet, as if alive. She froze. It's reacting to us. He checked his wrist console. The readings were off the charts, no temperature, no gravity fluctuation, no radiation. Just pure, unknown energy. It's the first one's power, he said quietly. It's inside us. The Queen placed her hand on her chest. Her armor pulsed with a dim glow. I can feel it, like a heartbeat that isn't mine. The human looked at her, uneasy. Same here. They stood in silence for a long moment. Then the Queen turned her head slightly, listening. Do you hear that? He frowned. What? A whisper, in the wind. The human closed his eyes. He heard it too, soft, like voices overlapping, speaking in a language that wasn't words. It wasn't coming from outside. It was inside their minds. The Queen's expression turned cold. The first ones are still here. Watching us. He shook his head. No, not watching. Guiding. Before she could reply, the ground shifted beneath them. A new structure began to rise from the golden dust, a tower made of light, not stone. It grew silently, stretching toward the sky until it disappeared into the clouds. What is this place? The Queen whispered. The human's AI flickered alive. Signal detected. Source unknown. Energy pattern matches first one architecture. He stepped closer. The tower hummed, and symbols began to appear, ancient glyphs shifting like living code. The human reached out and touched one. Instantly, the world changed. He and the Queen were no longer standing on solid ground. They floated in a void of stars and colors, memories, visions, fragments of civilizations rising and falling across time. The Queen gasped. These are their memories. They saw worlds shaped by light, species born from starlight and energy, and endless wars that tore galaxies apart. Then came silence, and the first one's decision to reset creation, to rebuild from the ashes. The Queen spoke softly. They wanted to keep the universe pure. The human nodded. And they failed. Because life always changes. As they watched, the visions shifted again, this time showing Earth. Blue oceans, clouds, and the shadow of something buried deep under the planet's crust, a sleeping construct that pulsed with the same golden light. He whispered, so it's true. Earth was one of their worlds. The Queen turned to him. Then you are not just human. You are part of them. He looked down, his voice quiet. Maybe that's why I survived this long. Maybe that's why they chose us. The Queen's eyes glowed faintly. Or maybe they need us for something worse. The visions faded, and they returned to the golden field. The tower still pulsed with light, waiting. The Queen placed her hand on its surface. It's calling to us again. He joined her, touching the tower too. This time, instead of visions, they felt a surge of power. Energy shot through their bodies, pure and violent. The human screamed as his armor overloaded, sparks flying. The Queen's armor split open, revealing glowing marks spreading across her skin, symbols that looked alive. When it stopped, they both fell to their knees, gasping. The Queen looked at her hands. Energy danced between her fingers like lightning. I can feel everything. The ground, the air, the pulse of the stars. The human stood slowly. His eyes glowed faint blue, matching the tower. They didn't just give us their power, he said. They made us part of the balance. The Queen frowned. You mean we are the new guardians? He nodded grimly. If balance is broken again, they'll expect us to restore it. Before she could respond, a deep rumble shook the air. The Queen turned sharply. The sky was cracking again, not from the first ones, but from ships. Massive fleets appeared on the horizon, alien armadas from across the galaxy. Word had spread. The Queen's communicator crackled. My Queen, this is Commander Thal. The Galactic Council demands your surrender. They say you've joined the human invader. The human's own comms came alive. Earth Command here. We're detecting energy readings from your location. Are you under attack? The Queen's eyes narrowed. They fear what we've become. He gave a small, tired smile. Can't blame them. Above them, thousands of ships formed two massive walls, human and alien, ready for war. The Queen stepped forward, her armor glowing brighter. If they fight here, they'll destroy what remains of this world. He looked up at the fleets and clenched his fists. Then we stop them. She turned to him. How? He met her eyes. By showing them what balance really means. They rose slowly into the air, lifted by the power inside them. The Queen's golden light mixed with the humans' blue glow, forming a beam that shot into the sky. Every ship paused. Sensors overloaded. Pilots shouted. The fleets froze, caught in the storm of light spreading across the atmosphere. The Queen's voice echoed in every mind, clear and powerful. We are not enemies. We are the bridge between worlds. The first ones chose us to keep balance, not to destroy it. The human's voice followed, calm but strong. If you fight now, you'll break what little remains of peace. Stand down, or face the power that made the stars. For a long, breathless moment, no one moved. Then, one by one, the ships powered down their weapons. Silence spread across the skies. The Queen lowered her head, relief washing over her. It worked. The human looked out at the endless fleets. For now. He turned to her. But peace never lasts. And something tells me, this isn't the end of the first ones. The Queen's golden eyes gleamed faintly. No. This is only the beginning. Far above them, hidden in the darkness beyond the clouds, a single red spark glowed, watching, waiting.